Okay, so we got to remove the backup light switch. It's underneath the transmission, close to that bracket. Close to that bracket right here. Right underneath. It's right here. So we have to remove this bracket for the oxygen sensor. We got one screw right there, and the other screw is on the other side, right here. So that's got to be removed because the transmission is going to sit on its weight, so it's going to be too heavy. We got to remove also these little aluminum brackets for the transmission to be able to go through. This, maybe this one as well. We're gonna have to remove also this transmission support right here, but we're gonna have to set a jack when we're there to remove it. So that's it. That's the task at hand. So these are the clips that we removed. Let me show you with a bigger window. So we removed this one with this bolt there. This bolt that is right here. This bolt that is right there. So we remove that clip and that one here. This was like a big washer punch nut kind of. So now we're gonna place a jack under the transmission and close to where the drive shaft connects to support it, and we're going to remove the support that is there. There's about 6 screws to be removed, 4 to hold the bracket down to the body of the car, and 2 that are mounted on the rubber mount. Sorry. So remove that bracket. That was holding the tailpipe, both in the middle. You need to hold with a key with a They fire stuff? What? No. So that's the bracket that we removed and the rubber mount that goes with it. That was the one holding the tailpipe in between the 2 pipes. Okay, so now we're setting up the jack to support the transmission. So we set up a plywood underneath. It's hard to see, but there's a... Let me show you. There's a plywood. And there's the jack. So we're screwing the whole thing. On le défait au complet? Ah oui, le jack sport. C'est jack sport, ouais. Okay. So we need to remove that sheet metal plate right there, because otherwise it's going to crush when the transmission is going to go down. Okay, so remove that bracket here. That is the bracket that was hanging below. We remove that transmission support. We suggest to remove that nut on top and not the one at the bottom, because otherwise you cannot reach this thing. Okay, so to remove the to free the shifter from the transmission, we need to remove that hold on. We need to remove that clip here. It's on the side.
and then there's two clips on the side that you kind of pull back up both hands, and then I think you slide them out. So that's going to free this from the transmission. So that is necessary. This is necessary. You need to pull these out and then flip them up both sides. Pull the pin out, flip them up. No, pull them up, sorry. Pull it out both sides. Flip up, pull out. So that's going to free the shifter from the transmission. So this is the clip that holds the shifter in the middle, and these are the two that slides. So you can see it's like something that clips and then pull out. In order to be able to remove these, we had to lower slightly the transmission because the transmission is too high. So that's what we did. And now we're gonna maybe lower it slightly more because we gotta remove the clutch cylinder. So that's the task at hand right now. So we remove the cylinder clutch. In order to prevent to have to bleed that thing, you need to hold it in place while you undo it, and we put some metal wire around it to pull it compressed. We use the holes on both sides, and now we're gonna strap this thing out of the way with tie wraps, so when we drop the clutch it's not gonna be in the way. Also, we're gonna remove this wire here. This is the wire for the engine oil level. We're gonna unplug this, and hopefully I think we can pull these things up above, out of the way. Else, if we can't, we will tie them up with tie wraps as well. So these wire right there, this bunch of wire. And after that, it's going to be time to remove all the screws around transmission and drop it. So you can see here the stud and the hole. This is where the clutch cylinder goes. Right here. Okay, and this here I'm unscrewing one screw from the side of the transmission. I'll try to show you. That bolt, I mean. Right there, you see the blue head bolt. I'm removing that one first because it holds a bracket that holds the wires that we're trying to get up above the transmission. So that's what I'm doing right now. And we put a tie wrap here, as you can see, to hold the clutch cylinder by this frame. So just to put it aside, and you can see the hose here, so it's a bit out of the way. So that should allows us to work without damaging the hose and everything. So the bracket I was removing for the wires got two bolts on it. So it's the one right above the one I was showing. So you need obviously to remove the two of those. It's this bracket right here. Okay, and these are the bolts that goes along with it. These are very long aluminum bolts, the two of those. So we're starting to remove the transmission, so we got to be careful. Now we're just gonna make a round trip around, make sure we don't forget anything, and if we don't, time it's gonna be to remove the transmission. So we unscrew all the screws. We're gonna have to pull it back toward the rear end of the car because there's a shaft that engage within the clutch because it's a manual transmission. Also, we're gonna have to put a wood block and a jack underneath the front end of the engine because the engine is support from the rear. So let me try to show you right here. You can see here this is an engine support. There's one on both hands, and it's clearly toward the rear end of the engine. It's I would say between the third and fourth cylinder. So we're just gonna put a jack up front to support this whole thing while the transmission is gonna be with. That's it. So that's what the transmission look like. These arrows are where we should expect to have screws. So we already removed these two bottom one from the bracket that was tied to the exhaust system, the pre-catalysis, and we removed I think these two here, I would say. So now we should have one above here, a few up around, but we're gonna make a round trip to make sure that we don't forget. Sorry about that. It's the two upper here for the bracket, not the two this lower one. So anyway, as I said, make a round inspection, making sure we don't forget any wiring or any bolts or bracket or anything, and then remove all the bolts, support front engine with a wood block and a jack, and lower the transmission and pull it backward. In order to be able to put the block and not break anything, we're gonna remove these little brackets. There's two of those, I forgot to remove those. It's a little screw here, so remove both of that, put that away, so it's gonna get a clear shot for the wood block in between. We're gonna put the wood block in between here, in between the rack and pinion that is right here, and this is the sway bar. So this is what we're doing right now. So this screw was the starter screw, this one and this one. So this one was easy to be removed, easy. Well, you need a small ratchet to be able to reach that. We were able to do it from up above. These one were the two I removed with the bracket that was holding to the pre-catalysis. This one here was removed from the bottom, going from under the car, as well as this one that is high above. So with a few extension on the ratchet, that was doable. This one and this one was easily done. So normally we should only have this one left. That's what we're going at. And after that, it's gonna be time to use the jack to support it. Make sure it's at the center of gravity, and gently pull the transmission toward the rear of the car, and then lower it. We already have the jack up front to support the engine, and that's a job to be done with 2 persons to be safe. Okay, so the bolt that has been removed, this was the starter bolt. The other one was here, and it was from the rear. It's a bit tricky because of this dock. We didn't remove the dock. It's doable to remove it, but by memory it's a bit difficult to pull it back. I would suggest, if you're gonna pull it back, there's 2 screws. If you go with your hand, you're gonna feel the screws. There's a flange on the top of that plastic. The difficulty is to take it off of the turbo on the back. So if you're gonna try to do that, you will need to tilt the engine, this part of the engine down the front end. It's gotta go down like that, as much as you can to get some room. But it's very difficult to take that thing out. So that's why I try to leave it there. The screw were not so tightened, so it was a bit easier to remove, which is not necessarily a good thing. The screw at the upper, this was a steel screw, and I think the other one on top was a steel screw as well. So that's what it is. Okay, so we're removing this this thing here. There is the there's a swivel device that is for the shifter. So we're removing the 2 nuts at the end of it, because at the other end of that we want to pass around the shifter there. Can I see it? Yeah, this metal piece here, there's this thing that we want to swing around the transmission. Otherwise, when we're going to pull back the transmission, it's going to hit it, and it might be a bit of a trouble. So by removing this thing, we should be able to swing this end down and wrap this thing around the transmission, this space there, and that should give us space to move the transmission back. Okay, so transmission's been putting down. We finished. It was a bit dark. Now it's resting on wood blocks. There's some little blocks added here to prevent it from turning aside. This transmission is very heavy, so you definitely need a jack to hold it and to lower it. You need to take your time to make sure you got the center of gravity right. You can rock it a bit up and down while it's engaged in the clutch. It gives you a bit of an idea of your lifting point, if it matches the center of gravity. Also, you want to hold it firmly, 2 guys on the hand, this hand here, to make sure it doesn't roll, make sure it's not gonna tilt. So the jack was set with the front end, just like the car in the end, front end of the jack with the front end of the car. And then once it was lowered down, we swing the rear end of the jack aside to be able to put the wood blocks to support the transmission. You also can see the drive shaft that's been supported on that wood block. So underneath is now clear. We're gonna go up forward to try to start to get the engine out of there so we can work on it.